Ambassador Elena Vasquez struggled to maintain her diplomatic composure as she stood before the assembled Galactic Congress, watching 3 millennia of peace crumble in real time. The grand amphitheater buzzed with the translations of 100 different species, as Supreme War Marshal Thexvar of the Dominion Coalition raised his ceremonial warblade for the 3rd time. The Terran species has grown too comfortable in their isolation, Thexvar declared, his voice echoing through the chamber's crystalline walls. For 3,000 years, they have refused to share their technological advances, ignored our requests for cultural exchange, and maintained their mysterious quarantine around the Sol system. No longer will the galaxy tolerate their arrogance. The warblade swept down, shattering the peace crystal that had symbolized humanity's treaty with the galactic community since 3847 CE. Fragments of the ancient artifact scattered across the marble floor as delegates from 47 different species rose to their feet in support of the war declaration. Elena sighed and activated her personal communication device. Earth Control, this is Ambassador Vasquez. They've done it. The Dominion Coalition has officially declared war on humanity. The response came immediately, and Elena had to bite her lip to keep from smiling as Director Chen's voice filled her earpiece. Any particular reason this time, Elena? Same as always, she replied, watching the alien delegates celebrate their historic decision. They want our technology, they're tired of being ignored, and they think 3,000 years of peace has made us soft. A pause. Then, well, should we tell them or let it be a surprise? Elena looked around the amphitheater at the assembled species, the militaristic Dominion, the hive-minded collective, the technological synthesists, and dozens of other civilizations that had spent the last 3 centuries building the largest military alliance in galactic history. All of them united by a single goal, forcing humanity to share the secrets of their golden age. Let it be a surprise, she said finally. I think they've earned it. 72 hours later, Fleet Admiral Corvash of the Dominion dreadnought Inevitable Victory studied the tactical displays with growing confusion. The first wave of the invasion fleet, 1,200 ships, representing the combined might of the coalition, had just entered the Sol system, expecting to find an isolated species cowering behind outdated defenses. Instead, they found nothing. Sensor Officer, report, Corvash commanded, her 4-chambered heart beating faster as she processed the impossible readings. Sir, the system appears empty. I'm detecting no defensive installations, no military vessels, no orbital platforms, nothing but the original planetary bodies and what appears to be a single communication beacon near the asteroid belt. Corvash's mandibles clicked nervously. The intelligence reports had insisted that humanity was technologically stagnant, having made no significant advances since the peace treaty. Their isolation was proof of their weakness, their refusal to engage with galactic civilization, evidence of their fear. Are you certain? Could they be using stealth technology? Negative, sir. Our sensors are calibrated to detect even theoretical cloaking systems. If there were ships here, we would see them. The communication beacon suddenly activated, filling the fleet's channels with a transmission from Earth. The face that appeared on the main screen was unmistakably human, an elderly woman with silver hair and kind eyes, wearing what appeared to be casual civilian clothing. Hello there, the woman said pleasantly, as if greeting neighbors at a garden party. I'm Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. I understand you've come to declare war on us. How exciting. Admiral Corvash leaned forward in her command throne. I am Fleet Admiral Corvash of the Dominion Coalition. In the name of 47 sovereign species, I demand your immediate surrender. Director Chen's expression didn't change, but something sparkled in her eyes. Oh my, a surrender demand. We haven't had one of those in, well, centuries. I'm afraid I'll have to decline, but thank you for asking so politely. You misunderstand your situation, human, Corvash snarled. You face the largest military force in galactic history. 1,200 ships, each one armed with technology you cannot comprehend. Your peace has made you weak. Well, Director Chen replied thoughtfully, you're half right. We have been at peace for 3,000 years. But you know what's funny about peace? It gives you time to think, time to experiment, time to discover things. She gestured towards something off-screen, and suddenly the space around the invasion fleet began to shift. What happened next would be studied by military historians for the next 10,000 years. The space between the coalition ships began to fold, reality bending in ways that violated every known law of physics. One moment, the fleet was spread across millions of kilometers of empty space. The next, they were compressed into a perfect sphere, roughly the size of Earth's moon. Impossible! Corvash screamed as her ship's hull groaned under forces that shouldn't exist. What are you doing to us? Oh, this? Director Chen's voice remained conversational despite the chaos. We call it dimensional compression. Took us about 800 years to figure out how to fold space-time like origami. Very useful for mining asteroids, but it has other applications. Through the viewports, Admiral Corvash could see the other ships in the fleet, their hulls pressed impossibly close together, but somehow not colliding. The sensation was like being squeezed by the universe itself. You see, Director Chen continued, while you've all been building bigger guns and faster ships, we've been learning to play with the fundamental forces of reality. Gravity, time, space, causality, they're really more like suggestions once you understand the underlying mathematics. A new voice joined the transmission, a cheerful young man who appeared to be working at some kind of control console. Hey, Director Chen, should I show them the matter conversion array? Oh, why not, Marcus? I think they're beginning to understand. The fleet's sensors suddenly detected massive energy signatures throughout the Sol system. What they had taken for empty space was revealed to be filled with structures that existed partially outside normal reality installations that had been hidden not by stealth technology, but by existing in dimensions the Coalition's sensors couldn't perceive. 3,000 years is a long time, Director Chen explained, as reality continued to bend around the trapped fleet. Long enough to transcend the need for traditional warfare. We don't build weapons anymore. We just reshape physics when we need to defend ourselves. Admiral Corvash felt her species' legendary courage crumbling as she realized the scope of humanity's transformation. What? What are you? We're still human, Director Chen replied with genuine warmth. We still laugh, cry, fall in love, and tell terrible jokes. We just happen to have learned how to rewrite the laws of nature when it's convenient. The dimensional compression field began to release, returning the Coalition fleet to normal space. But now they found themselves surrounded by structures that hurt to look at, geometric forms that existed in too many dimensions, platforms that seemed to extend infinitely while somehow fitting in finite space. Now then, Director Chen said, her tone shifting to something more businesslike, shall we discuss terms? I believe you mentioned something about wanting our technology. 6 hours later, Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in her comfortable chair aboard the diplomatic vessel, sipping tea and watching the final surrender ceremonies through her viewport. The entire Dominion Coalition fleet hung motionless in space, their weapons deactivated and their crews in a state of existential shock. You know, she said into her communicator, I almost feel sorry for them. Director Chen's laugh echoed through the channel. Don't feel too bad. They'll recover. Most species do, once they accept that the universe is a lot stranger than they thought. What happens now? Now we invite them to Earth for the real cultural exchange they've been wanting. I think it's time to start sharing some of our discoveries. the galaxy's ready for the next phase of evolution. Elena nodded, watching as human vessels began appearing around the Coalition fleet, not emerging from hyperspace or dropping out of stealth, but simply existing where they hadn't been before. Ships that looked like living crystal, others that seemed to be made of folded light, and a few that appeared to exist in a constant state of becoming something else. 3,000 years of peace had indeed changed humanity. They were still recognizably human, still driven by curiosity and compassion and the occasional terrible joke. But they had also become something more: gardeners of reality itself, shepherds of physical law, children of the universe who had finally learned to speak its language. And now perhaps they could teach the rest of the galaxy to sing along. The war was over before it had truly begun, ended not by superior firepower, but by superior understanding. In the depths of space, where the Coalition had expected to find a weak and isolated species, they had instead discovered that humanity had spent 3 millennia becoming something that could reshape the cosmos with a thought. It was, Elena reflected, probably the shortest war in galactic history. And definitely the most educational.